Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. In the previous video, I alluded to the fact that Humza Yousaf is a liar, and here I'm going to prove it. He claimed, and we have his words, that there is an ongoing and current climate emergency. And I will say, if there is an emergency, why aren't you doing something about it? Why are you only attempting to punish the poor? Why aren't we punishing the rich? In particular, why aren't we banning private jets? Is it because you don't want to upset your elite paymasters, the 1%ers who pay all the extra money for you to push their agenda? And they need those private jets. They can quaff champagne at 30,000 feet and look down on the poor people and say, we'll make their lives slightly worse and do this and take that freedom away, as they build towards this utopia where if you're in the 1%, you get to rule the world. Or is it because they know that there is no climate emergency and they don't have a reason to ban them? Make your own mind up on that. Leave a comment to let me know which one you think it is. Or it could be both, of course. They could just be using climate emergency as a buzzword to try and remove rights and freedoms and make our lives worse. That's probably there as well. Anyway, for once, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, for once, Lorna Slater is right. Now, the article's got the wrong slant on it. The article is going on and calling them hypocrites because of various things. We'll go into it in the article. And yes, they are hypocrites. They are, absolutely. But I'm going to look past that because she's actually got something right. And it's astounding. She wants to charge the passengers of private jets £1,000 each upon landing. It's the wrong way to do it. You'll see why in the article. But the principle's right. I would also say the money is wrong. But the principle is right, and I agree with it. And the words feel funny in my mouth. Here goes. So Scottish Greens branded hypocrites over private jet plans after Lorna Slater's ferry jolly. That's when she went off to the Isle of Rum and hired a private ferry rather than taking the normal one because it was more convenient. Well, tough shit for her convenience, and I don't care. That's not the purpose, of course, of this video. Patrick Harvey and co claim the policy of raising taxes on private jets would raise $75 million a year, but the Scottish Conservatives reckon it's been drawn up on the back of a fag packet, and it probably has, but it doesn't matter. The principle is right, and I'll go through. Why should we be the ones that's constantly told we can't? They're saying, oh, you can't have boilers in your houses, you can't drive your cars, we're going to put tax up here. So where's the poor? The poorest of society are the ones who suffer the most. The ones at the bottom. Whenever all listening needs to happen, let's get the peasants to do it, because the elite don't want to be an inconvenience. So let's turn this on their head. Humza Yousaf says there's a climate emergency, so we all have to pitch in. Now, personally, I would just ban private jets. Just ban them straight out. But they don't want to do that because the elite are the ones who decide what happens. We don't. We're not allowed to decide. The elite decide, and then they make the politicians do exactly what they want. What we need is a set of politicians who say to the elite, go fuck yourselves, we're going to tax the bollocks off you, and we're going to take all your money for our use. You've made enough. Don't mind someone being rich. Don't mind someone being worth 10 million, 100 million even. Don't care. But when you're talking hundreds of billions and then deciding the fate of the world because of your wealth, that's quite wrong. Anyway, ban the privates, and if you can't have a private jet, okay, you're not going to ban it, you tax them. And you tax them till the pips squeak. They're suggesting £1,000 each, but we'll come to that. The Scottish Greens have been branded hypocrites for dreaming up an absurd plan. It's not an absurd plan, it's a brilliant plan to slap a huge tax on private jet passengers visiting Scotland. Under the proposals unveiled by the SNP's government partners, anyone arriving in the country on a private plane will need to fork out £1,000. No, 10. £10,000 per person getting off a private jet. That's what it should be. However, getting off a private jet is a problem. And I'll say why in a second. Patrick Harvey and Lorna Slater's party has been accused of coming up with the plans on the back of a fact packet and provided no evidence it would help tackle climate change. It probably won't. That's not the point. They're missing the point. Why? The point is they keep punishing poor people and quoting climate change. Why aren't they punishing rich people? Why aren't they inconveniencing and taxing the rich for the same thing they're doing to the poor? So let's tax the rich, and let's see then if changes. All of a sudden there isn't a climate emergency when they're having to pay £10,000 to get their arse into a private jet. All of a sudden there won't be a climate emergency. There'll be some other different type of emergency, but the climate one will have disappeared all of a sudden because they will be having to pay for it. That's what the difference is. £10,000 per arse, I would say. But Patrick, anyway, so we've done that. Anyway, the Greens are keen to see wealthy tourists and investors slapped with the levy as soon as they touch down. It would have seen world leaders like Emmanuel Macron and Joe Biden, who've both taken private jets to the country recently, charged simply for arriving in Scotland. The principle is sound, but you're going to have to do it on departure. And that is that no plane is allowed to depart until that tax has been paid. And there is an official there at every time a jet. Well, you only have to do it with jets. Don't have to do it with prop engines, just jets. And every time a jet wants to depart, you just to see, has it paid its departure tax? If not, you send a little man round and off you go. And you get the £10,000 per passenger. And if they don't like it, they can get off the jet and they can go and take a scheduled flight from an airline operator. That's how it works. And that will work. Speaking to the Daily Mail, the Scottish Conservative spokesman, Graham Simpson, said, "It is the height of hypocrisy from the Greens. I don't care about the hypocrisy, given that Lorna Slater snubbed a Calmac ferry and instead billed the taxpayer £1,200 to charter a ferry boat to visit Rum." Now, he is looking and trying to make the argument about hypocrisy because he too doesn't want to ban private jets, doesn't want to put a tax on jet passengers, because he too, part of the WEF conspiracy, the Conservatives, full of it. They don't want to. What? God, we tax the rich. That's a new and novel idea, but I don't think the rich will go for it. No, the rich won't. The rich will pay to make sure that this never actually comes in. They'll pay the politicians and all this. They'll do things to make sure not. Because they don't want to pay tax. How dare anyone ask a rich person to pay tax? Bullshit. Stop changing the argument from being a very good idea to being, oh, look, it's hypocrisy. Okay, it's hypocrisy. We've established they're hypocritical. Let's look at what they're saying. Anyway, the Greens claim the plan would raise $75 million a year with the money being spent on public transport and hitting climate targets. I think it's an excellent way of taxing people where you're not taxing poor people, and yet the money's coming in and you can do some good with it. Imagine what $75 million a year into the health service in Scotland would achieve. Tons. A lot more doctors and nurses, that's for sure. Greens climate spokesman Mark Ruskell said just 1% of people cause 50% of global aviation emissions. Exactly. Charge the 1%ers. It's time for us to say their private jets are not welcome in Scotland. Scotland should introduce a super tax on these flights to cut the number of jets in our sky and ensure polluters pay for the damage they're doing. Absolutely bloody right. Now here's the thing. This is the point I was saying about departures. The Scottish Government currently has responsibility over air departure tax, but it does not have the power to introduce fees for those landing. Fine, don't do it as a landing fee. Do it as a departure tax and say, we're introducing a new departure tax on private non-airline jets. And that is, upon takeoff, or upon your clearance for takeoff, you have to pay £10,000 for every person on board, including pilots. And if there's 10 people on board, lovely, £100,000 straight into the coffers. The rich can afford it. If you can afford a private jet, you can afford £100,000 on takeoff. And if they don't like it, they don't pay it, you impound the plane until they do. That plane is impounded. Every plane that lands, every private jet that lands, is immediately impounded and is released upon the payment based on how many people are getting on that plane to take off. Simple, isn't it? And that way, the rich will pay. And they have, and the Scottish Parliament, it doesn't even need a new law. It just needs an amendment to the existing law. Basically, a statutory article. It doesn't even need to go for a vote. Humza could do it tomorrow. He could do it tomorrow. But he won't. And we know why. Because all the bullshit he talks about climate emergency, there is no emergency and he cannot justify it. And also, his paymasters will say, oh, we don't like this. Make sure it doesn't happen. They have the power. They can make a £10,000 per passenger departure tax payable on private jets. Let's see if he'll do it. Or let's see if there is not a green emergency. I'm going to come up. Now, if over the next few days or weeks, Humza Yousaf comes out and says, actually, has got this really great idea. What we're going to do is introduce a departure tax and increase it for private jets. If he comes out with that idea, then we can listen soundly. We say, okay, then we believe that you think there is a climate emergency, and now you're acting on it, and you're making sure that everybody acts on it. Everybody is, concerned. Everybody's involved. You're not just punishing one group, the poor, the normals, us, the plebs, the peasants, the serfs. You're punishing them, the ones that are creating the problem. Brilliant. And if he does that, I will apologise to him profusely. But I think I'm fairly safe in saying I won't be apologising anytime soon. He doesn't have the cojones to do that, because that would mean going against his paymasters. Finish there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. And remember, there is no climate emergency. Disneyland's still open. That would be closed, wouldn't it, if there was a true emergency? Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and just relax in the knowledge that Hamza Yousaf is a big fat liar. Bye.